ChatGPT and Midjourney are useful tools that can help you with your content creation. Hi everybody, my name is Greg Crable and this is my podcast, Something I Learned Yesterday, where I take an issue, usually from the world of publishing, and explain it in 3 or 4 minutes. I write an article on most weekdays, and it's nice to have an image to go along with the article. It's an interesting exercise because you have to convert the concept of the article into something visual. For example, I was writing about people using AI agents. How do you make that into a picture? The reality would be probably just somebody talking into a headset, which would just look like a telephone call. So to make it look like an AI agent, I created an image of someone speaking to a small robot. Sometimes that process of converting text into an image can give you ideas for the article. An example here is my article on fine lines in business. What does that look like? I opted for a hiker on a narrow path with a steep slope down on each side. That reinforces the idea of the potential peril of straying from the middle way. I use Midjourney for most of my images, and I'm mostly satisfied with it. Sometimes it's hard to tell it to do what I want, but usually it works pretty well. I also use AI to create summaries. I think it's a good service to the reader to give a brief description of an article at the top. Now, some studies have shown that this increases engagement with an article, which seems a little counterintuitive. You might expect that some people would think, the summary is all I really wanted, and they'd be gone. But I think maybe that's outweighed by the number of people who aren't sold by the title and need a little more about the article. In any event, I asked ChatGPT to write a 30 or so word summary of an article. I almost never use that summary verbatim, but it helps with the process and saves me some time. Another thing I use AI for is to make sure I didn't miss something important. An article idea is often a kind of generalization of a particular situation. The particular situation might be one magazine that, after a lengthy absence from print, went back. The more general idea is how print might or might not fit into the modern publishing mix. Sometimes it's hard to get your head out of the specifics of the particulars. So when I write an article like that, sometimes I'll upload it to ChatGPT and ask what things I've missed. It's helpful. I don't always take its suggestions, but it's helped me to see if there's some aspect of that story that I should have covered. By the way, uploading content to ChatGPT means that it can use that content to train its circuits and so on. So you need to be careful with that one in terms of copyright. How about getting ideas? I write a lot, and I usually don't have any trouble coming up with ideas. Sometimes I do, and in those cases, I might upload a series of articles and ask ChatGPT, what other topics similar to these that would fit into this general theme could I write about? The results aren't great, honestly, but they can be helpful, and they can give me a spark of an idea that I can pursue further. In a way, it's like using ChatGPT the way you'd use a thesaurus. A sentence might not seem quite right. You can upload the sentence, tell ChatGPT what doesn't seem quite right, and it can give alternatives. That's where ChatGPT excels because it is, after all, a large language model. Now, I use it to create an outline. If I have to give a presentation or create a longer chunk of content, I'll start by listing everything I can think of that's relevant to that topic. I'll work on that for a while, but then comes the hard task of putting it in order. ChatGPT does a decent job of that, and it can help with structuring larger content. For example, let's say I want to do a presentation on digital marketing. I can upload all the articles I've written on digital marketing and ask ChatGPT to create a table of contents. I don't let ChatGPT write for me, but I do let it help with organizing, summarizing, and finding gaps. Now, here are some other ideas that these aren't the ways that I use ChatGPT. They're not particularly relevant to me, but I'll mention them in case they spark an idea on your end. You can create a transcript, a summary, an outline, or an article from a recording, like a webinar or something. You can optimize content for SEO. You can personalize content based on the fly, personalize it on the fly, based on a particular reader's preferences, demographics, or behavior, although frankly, I'd be a little careful with that one and test it a lot before you roll it out. You can translate your content into another language, and you can use data on content consumption to come up with new ideas for a particular market. For example, let's say on your website you have a mixture of very well engaged people and not very well. You certainly do. Very well engaged people and not very well engaged people. So you look at the articles that the very well engaged people are reading, and then you say to ChatGPT, okay, take those concepts and come up with more like them so that you're doing what Rob Rosagno says and following your whales. So those are some ideas. I hope they're helpful. If you have a minute, drop me a line and tell me how you're using AI in your business and your content creation. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks so much.